The surface of the polar sea is quiet, deceptively so. A sheet of ice stretches across the horizon, pale and jagged, its edges blurred by a curtain of drifting snow. Above, the light is soft and cold, filtered through low clouds that seem stitched into the sky itself. It is a landscape of silence and stillness, broken only by the occasional groan of shifting floes, or the soft clap of a distant crack propagating like thunder through frozen glass. But beneath this white ceiling, the world is anything but quiet. Below the ice, the water is clear and dark, shot through with faint shafts of light that flicker like signals from another planet. The cold here is absolute, just shy of freezing, and yet life pulses in the shadows. Cautious, agile, alert. A school of Antarctic silverfish glides in tight formation, each fish mirroring the minute movements of the others. Their scales catch the ambient light, flashing silver blue like mercury flowing in reverse. Every flick of a fin is calculated, every change in direction a communal survival strategy against what might be waiting above. Just meters away, hidden in a narrow channel beneath the ice shelf, a bearded seal hovers silently. Its large, rotund body seems awkward at first glance, a tube of blubber built for endurance more than grace. But in these waters, that bulk is perfectly designed. The seal hangs just beneath the frozen surface, its whiskers trembling with the motion of invisible water currents. These sensitive vibrissae are not just for show. They are highly tuned instruments capable of detecting disturbances from meters away. A single pulse, a single flick from a swimming fish is enough to betray a location. The seal doesn't see the fish, it feels them. It remains motionless for minutes at a time, regulating its breath, narrowing its body profile, and becoming part of the ice ceiling. The ambush is all about patience. These seals know the behavior of their prey better than we might expect. Antarctic silverfish tend to use the undersides of ice shelves for cover, ironically the same places predators use for concealment. The ice is not just the battlefield here, it is both camouflage and weapon. Then without warning, the seal explodes forward. A burst of propulsion from powerful rear flippers launches its torpedo-shaped body forward in a sudden blur. There is no time for the fish to scatter. The seal's jaws snap sideways, cleaving into the school with surgical precision. One silverfish disappears in a puff of blood and bubbles. The others panic and scatter, but it's already too late. The predator has its prize. Seals like this, bearded, ringed, Weddell, are not simply opportunistic feeders. They are methodical hunters that have evolved to exploit their frozen environment to its fullest. Weddell seals, in particular, are remarkable in their ability to navigate the maze beneath the sea ice. They memorize the locations of breathing holes, some natural, some kept open by the seals themselves, and return to them even after long foraging trips beneath the ice shelf. Their oxygen management is superb. They can remain submerged for over an hour, diving to depths greater than 600 meters, and yet they choose these shallow ambush zones for a reason. Efficiency. It's a matter of energy economics. Chasing prey in the open ocean takes calories. Lying in wait near known fish traffic corridors under the ice, that takes strategy. And in an ecosystem where food can be seasonal and scarce, efficiency means survival. In colder months, when ice becomes more consolidated and breathing holes are fewer, the stakes rise. Seals will return to the same hole dozens of times in a day, waiting nearby with the kind of stillness usually reserved for reptiles or spiders. Beneath the hole, the seal aligns itself with the faint glow of light from above, masking its profile against the surface. As fish come up to graze on under-ice algae or search for oxygen-rich waters, the seal rises like a ghost and strikes from below. One remarkable behavior seen in Weddell seals is their use of echolocation-like cues. While not true echolocators like dolphins, they can use reflected sounds to judge distance and structure beneath the ice. Researchers have observed them tracking prey using the subtle echoes of their own sounds, clicking, trilling, and even producing deep whistles that bounce off ice ridges and fish alike. It's a primitive but effective sonar system in a world where sight is often obscured by shadow and suspended particles. The ice itself plays a dual role. It shields the prey, offering cover from aerial predators like skuas and petrels. But it also creates bottlenecks. Fish congregate beneath areas where the ice is thin or cracked, drawn by light and photosynthetic life. These natural choke points are where seals focus their attention, turning the ice into a natural trap. Unlike the open sea here, escape routes are limited. Fish cannot flee upward, and horizontal passageways are often narrow and easily blocked. Occasionally, the ice works against the predator. A sudden shift in pressure can seal off a breathing hole entirely. In such cases, the hunter becomes the hunted, not by a rival animal, but by the very landscape it relies on. Stories abound of seals dying under ice when a familiar escape route vanished. Evolution has prepared them for many things, but the ice remains unpredictable. Perhaps the most astonishing adaptation is not physical, but mental. These seals demonstrate something rarely associated with marine mammals outside of cetaceans, a capacity for environmental memory. Tagged individuals have been recorded returning to the same ice formations year after year, navigating complex ice fields as if guided by a map imprinted in the brain. They don't just learn from their environment, they remember it. And in this frigid, shifting wilderness, memory is as much a weapon as speed or teeth. As the camera pans back, we see the seal sink again into the shadows, another fish twitching in its jaws, its dark eyes already scanning for the next signal. The ice above remains still, silent, serene, a white canvas hiding the oldest drama in nature, predator and prey, locked in a cycle of survival just beneath the surface. At the edge of the Antarctic continent, where frozen cliffs meet the black, frigid sea, a procession begins. A cluster of emperor penguins emerges from the inland ice, bodies rigid with fat and feathers, waddling with awkward dignity across snow-packed ridges. Their journey from the breeding colony to the feeding grounds is ritualistic, instinctive, ancient, and fraught with unseen risk. Behind them, the white silence of the ice shelf yawns vast and featureless. Ahead lies the sea, a dark, writhing void cloaked in fog and bordered by jagged floes. The penguins hesitate at the edge, sensing more than cold beneath the wind. To an emperor penguin, entering the ocean is not a casual act. It's a calculated risk, made more dangerous in the fractured, fragmented inlets where leopard seals patrol like shadows with teeth. The penguins bunch tightly at the edge, scanning the water below with eyes adapted for both air and ocean. There's no sound, only the whip of the wind across the ice and the low groan of water moving beneath frozen plates. One bird finally commits, launching itself from the ledge in a low arc, hitting the water with a splash so small it disappears before the next even jumps. For a moment, the water remains undisturbed. Then comes the movement. A ripple breaks the surface 30 meters offshore, faint and almost dismissible. But beneath that ripple is a 2.5-meter predator weighing nearly 500 kilograms. Sleek, scarred, and patient, the leopard seal patrols these ice margins with a hunter's economy. Unlike orcas, which rely on group strategy, or sharks that circle for chaos, the leopard seal is a solitary assassin. It does not panic its prey. It calculates its attack, moving just beneath the surface, timing the strike to coincide with the moment of vulnerability when penguins begin to scatter. Below the surface, the difference in agility is stark. In the air, penguins are sluggish and comical. Underwater, they are transformed. Their bodies, torpedo-shaped and powered by stiff, wing-like flippers, dart and spin with stunning speed. But even that speed has limits. The leopard seal may lack the frantic burst of a great white shark, but it compensates with stealth and control. Its streamlined body allows for sudden bursts of acceleration, and its jaws, lined with sharp interlocking teeth, can slice through bone and flesh in one clean snap. As the penguins dive deeper into the open water, the seal closes the distance from below. Its method is always the same. Approach low, undetected, then angle upward with precision. The attack is not frenzied. It is clean and fast, like a scalpel through soft tissue. One bird veers off, noticing the shimmer of light above the predator's approaching body. It's too late. In a surge of bubbles and muscle, the seal strikes. The penguin has time to kick once, maybe twice. A flash of white, a cloud of feathers, and the water turns pink for only a moment. Then it clears again, and the seal is gone, only the remnants of its ambush floating like snow in reverse. These encounters are not random. Leopard seals learn. Researchers have tracked individuals returning to specific ice edges seasonally, lying in wait near known penguin access points, and even adjusting their position based on the tide and current. They don't just ambush, they anticipate. They know when the penguins will return from fishing runs, what time of day they're most likely to leap from the water, and how to adjust their hunting depth based on ice visibility. It's predation by habit, but refined with experience. Occasionally, the penguins flip the dynamic. Groups will leap from the water in tight formation, aiming for steeper, smoother ice shelves that give them less hang time, less opportunity for interception. Some will delay re-entry to throw off the seal's timing. Others, more experienced adults, will watch the water carefully before plunging in, often nudging juveniles forward first. Whether that's selfishness or evolutionary logic is up for debate. What's clear is this: in the Antarctic, hesitation is a luxury only the survivors can afford. Even in successful hunts, the leopard seal often doesn't consume the entire penguin. It's common to see a seal catch its prey, thrash it violently to dislodge feathers and bones, and then strip away the fatty layers and muscle, leaving the rest to drift away. Some scientists interpret this behavior as selective feeding, a strategy to maximize energy intake with minimal effort. Others note the almost surgical removal of certain body parts, suggesting that even in consumption, the seal is deliberate. What makes these predators particularly effective is their flexibility. Unlike orcas, which may specialize in one kind of prey, leopard seals have a more generalized diet. They'll feed on krill in the off-season, suck down small fish like a giant vacuum, and switch to penguins or even other seals when the opportunity arises. During summer months, they've been observed hunting crab-eater seals, their closest relatives, dragging pups from ice ledges and shaking them apart mid-water. These attacks are infrequent but brutal, highlighting the seal's ability to scale its violence based on availability and ease. Back near the ice shelf, the emperor penguins gather again, scanning the water before making the next leap. They have no choice. The ocean is their pantry, their path, and their prison. Every dive is necessary, every return a gamble. The leopard seal knows this too. Its survival hinges on that tension, on the fact that even the fastest, most evolved swimmers must breach, dive, and surface. And each time they do, the seal is ready. The body of a freshly caught penguin hangs limp in the water, half consumed, its feathers splayed like confetti in a snow globe. The seal's eyes are steady, unblinking, scanning the surface again for movement. There is no celebration, no pause, just the silence of the predator waiting for the cycle to resume. In the coldest places on Earth, there is no malice, only mechanics. A massive iceberg drifts in a slow arc, its underbelly sculpted by years of saltwater erosion and seasonal thaw. Jagged spires rise from its surface like frozen battlements, glistening in the low Antarctic sun. The water around it is dark and impossibly cold, yet glassy in its stillness, an arena waiting for movement. Perched near the center of the ice floe, a lone Weddell seal lies motionless, belly pressed against the hard surface, nostrils flaring gently with each breath. Its eyes scan the horizon but see nothing. The ocean appears quiet. The ice is solid. There is no visible threat. But below the water, the silence is deceptive. A pod of orcas cruises beneath the floe with remarkable cohesion, their bodies slicing through the sea in synchronized arcs. These are transient orcas, powerful, intelligent, and highly specialized hunters. Unlike their fish-eating relatives found in temperate zones, this pod survives by taking on warm-blooded prey, often in coordinated attacks that border on military precision. They have hunted together for years, possibly generations. Each individual knows its role. One peels away from the group, circling wide beneath the iceberg, gauging the seal's position from below. Orcas have excellent vision, but their most lethal asset here is echolocation. They emit a series of high-frequency clicks that bounce back from the ice, mapping the floe and everything on it like sonar. The seal is not hidden. It is marked, measured, and targeted. The pod regroups at a distance, lining up parallel to one another like an aquatic firing squad. Their movements are deliberate and quiet, using minimal fluke motion to avoid surface disturbance. Timing is crucial. If they strike too soon, the seal may cling to the ice. Too late, and it might escape inland or into the water. Everything must be orchestrated perfectly. Then the charge begins. With a sudden burst of speed, 3 orcas accelerate toward the floe in unison, their massive bodies displacing tons of water. As they near the edge, they dive just beneath the surface and angle upward at the last second, lifting their heads and dorsal ridges to create a rolling wall of force. The wave builds quickly, towering higher than the seal can register before it crashes into the ice with devastating effect. The iceberg shudders. A sheet of water floods over its surface, surging across like a liquid avalanche. The seal, caught in the blast zone, is swept violently toward the edge. It claws at the surface, digging into grooves and cracks with stubby claws that were never designed for grip. Momentum wins. The animal slides off the ice into the black water below. The next few seconds are a blur. Before the seal can orient itself, one orca is already there, erupting from the depths with jaws wide. It doesn't go for a clean kill. Instead, it strikes from the side, sending the seal airborne in a spray of seawater and blood. The blow is deliberate, meant to stun, not destroy. The orcas will play now, passing the seal between them, testing its strength and endurance, as if gauging its potential for escape. It's not cruelty. It's assessment. In rare cases, the seal escapes. If it's quick enough to find another flow, or agile enough to climb back to the original iceberg before the pod can turn, it might survive. But more often, the game ends with a single bite. Orcas don't linger. Once the seal is finished, they disperse, regrouping only when another target is found. What makes this hunting method so extraordinary is its context. Orcas are among the only marine predators known to use the environment as a physical tool, not just as a hunting ground, but as an active weapon. These wave-creating attacks are not instinctual, they are taught. Young orcas learn by watching older pod members perform the maneuver repeatedly, refining their timing and position over years of practice. Some pods develop signature variations, slightly different angles of approach, adjustments based on flow shape, even flanking maneuvers to block escape. This is culture, not just biology, and it's not limited to seals. In other regions, orcas have been observed using similar wave attacks to knock seabirds into the water or dislodge ice fish from shallow ledges. In Patagonia, unrelated pods employ beaching techniques, launching themselves onto land to snatch sea lions before slithering back into the surf. The common thread is innovation. In Antarctica, these wave ambushes are particularly deadly because the environment helps set the stage. The ice flows are often small and unstable, shaped by wind and current into narrow rafts that seals favor for rest, but offer little defense. A well-aimed wave, even from a single orca, can compromise the structure of the flow entirely. Some attacks end not with a kill, but with the iceberg breaking apart beneath the predator's force. What began as a calculated strike becomes an unintentional reshaping of the landscape. The seals know this, or at least respond as if they do. They rarely linger near the flow's edge. They position themselves at the center, often aligned with the highest points. When threatened, they freeze, pressing flat against the surface to reduce profile and resist displacement. But there is no real defense. No maneuver or angle that guarantees survival once the orcas have committed. Only luck, timing, or the predator's miscalculation offers reprieve. This level of strategic hunting is rare in the natural world. Few animals plan in real time with this level of cooperation and spatial awareness. It's not just strength or speed that defines the orca's success. It's cognition. Their brains are among the most complex in the animal kingdom, with enlarged limbic systems and a cerebral cortex that rivals primates. Communication among pod members is intricate, involving vocalizations, body language, and echolocation pings that serve as both guidance and command. Some researchers have proposed that orca pods develop long-term memory of specific ice fields, returning year after year to the same locations, not just to hunt, but to exploit the geography. If one iceberg works well for flushing seals, it becomes a known hunting ground. Success leaves a behavioral blueprint. The ice remembers nothing, but the orcas do. As the camera draws back, the scene calms. The water returns to its glossy surface. The iceberg floats on, dented but still intact. The pod disappears into the blue, moving with unhurried confidence, as if their task had been more of a performance than a necessity. They will hunt again, but not out of desperation, out of mastery. The light under the Arctic ice is filtered, fractured, and shifting, a dim green-blue haze broken by white streaks of refracted daylight. It seeps downward through thick slabs of sea ice, casting moving patterns across the silted seafloor. No shadows are sharp here. No movement is obvious. This world beneath the ice is quiet, cold, and strange, a suspended realm that seems frozen in time. But within its stillness lies a complex battlefield, one that rewards patience, subtlety, and disguise over speed or strength. A school of Arctic cod drifts cautiously along the edge of a melt channel, their silver bodies glinting like loose coins scattered in the water. They are the staple prey in this environment, abundant, nutritious, and constantly hunted. Yet these fish are far from defenseless. Their first weapon is shape, slender and neutrally buoyant, designed to hover in place with minimal effort. Their second is movement, or rather, the lack of it. Arctic cod can hold nearly motionless, suspended in the water like pieces of floating debris, relying on stillness to remain undetected. When threatened, they do not flee in panic. They glide backward into shadow, vanishing into the under-ice gloom with barely a flick of their tails. Their main protection, however, comes from their environment. The underside of sea ice is a textured and biologically rich world, riddled with microalgae, bristly frost structures, and hanging stalactites of frozen brine. It provides both cover and confusion, an optical maze where predators and prey play hide-and-seek in extreme slow motion. Lurking near the seafloor, half buried in fine sediment, a Greenland shark lies completely still. To the untrained eye, it might appear as nothing more than a large, smooth boulder. Its skin is mottled grey and rough, covered in denticles that diffuse light and make it blend seamlessly into the seafloor. Algae sometimes grows on its back, further camouflaging it as a piece of the seascape. But beneath this passive exterior is one of the most enduring predators in the polar regions. Slow, patient, and equipped with a bite capable of shearing through flesh like a saw. The Greenland shark does not chase, it waits. A true ambush predator, it conserves energy in a cold environment where every calorie counts. Its metabolism is remarkably slow, matched by a swimming speed that rarely exceeds a gentle cruise. Yet despite this sluggishness, it feeds on a variety of prey, from fish and squid to seals and scavenged whale carcasses. It's even been found with remains of polar bears and reindeer in its stomach, though whether those were hunted or scavenged remains uncertain. The shark's advantage is surprise, not pursuit. Its eyes, often cloudy from parasitic copepods, offer limited vision. Instead, the Greenland shark relies on an array of sensory tools: a keen sense of smell, electroreception to detect movement, and pressure-sensitive lateral lines that read the currents like braille. It senses the vibration of a cod's fluttering fin long before the cod sees its outline. When the moment is right, it surges forward, not in a blur, but with a suddenness out of place for something so heavy. The strike is short, deliberate, and almost always fatal. Yet not all killers here have jaws. Hovering in the shallow channels where sunlight feeds the under-ice flora, a sea anemone waits, bulbous, soft-bodied, and deceptively innocent. Its tentacles, translucent and swaying, drift with the current like fragile algae. But each filament is tipped with conidocytes, stinging cells that can immobilize small prey with a single touch. These anemones are not hunters in the traditional sense. They are living traps waiting for fish larvae or zooplankton to drift too close. When contact is made, the victim is pulled inward, slowly and deliberately, into the waiting mouth at the center of the body column. Some of these anemones have evolved coloration that matches the underside of the ice: pale blue, light cream, or spotted patterns that mimic the mottled algae canopy above. Others attach themselves to chunks of mobile sea ice or rock, drifting slowly across the seabed and increasing their chances of a passive encounter. They may go days or weeks without feeding, but in this nutrient-scarce environment, patience is currency. On the smaller scale, predators like amphipods and comb jellies play the same game. Though often overlooked, these tiny hunters form the base of the Arctic food web, consuming even tinier plankton with grasping appendages or sticky tentacles. Some are transparent, effectively invisible unless backlit by sunlight. Others exhibit counter-illumination, a trait where bioluminescent cells match the ambient light coming from above, erasing the animal's silhouette. In this world of muted light and constant reflection, being unseen is more valuable than being fast. Even prey species employ camouflage to deadly effect. The Antarctic dragonfish, a lesser-known denizen of the under-ice world, possesses rows of photophores along its body that emit light matched to its surroundings. This makes it nearly undetectable to both predators and prey. But it doesn't just hide. It uses its invisibility to hunt. Hovering near the edge of light zones, it ambushes passing shrimp and small fish with rapid strikes from an enormous hinged jaw lined with needle-sharp teeth. What ties these species together is their relationship with time. Unlike the fast-paced ambushes of orcas or the high-speed pursuits of seals, these predators exist on a slower spectrum. They do not dominate with speed or strength, but thrive through patience, illusion, and sensory precision. Their world is one where movement is risk and stillness is power, where looking harmless is the best way to kill. Above them, the ice groans with the pressure of shifting tides. Light wavers across the floor like a living ceiling fan, and in that flicker, a cod disappears, swallowed whole by the shark it never saw coming. This battlefield is not loud, it is not fast, but it is brutal in its own way. It favors the invisible, the slow, and the clever. In the frozen shadow realm of the Arctic, those who go unseen kill best. The waters are calm. The surface shimmers with the reflection of ice cliffs and broken flows, painting the sea in fractured silver and white. From above, there's little to indicate life stirring below. No splashes, no ripples, no birds in frenzy, just silence. But hundreds of feet beneath the surface, a slow, coordinated movement is underway. In the stillness of polar waters, giants are assembling. A small shoal of krill drifts near the thermocline, where warmer and colder water layers meet. Their bodies shimmer orange-red in the gloom, legs paddling in rhythmic flutter as they graze on phytoplankton that bloomed weeks earlier under the extended summer sun. These tiny crustaceans, no longer than a paperclip, exist in staggering numbers, sometimes forming super swarms dense enough to color the water. To most predators, krill are a scattered meal. But to a humpback whale, they are something else entirely, a challenge, one that demands choreography. From below the shoal, a lone bubble spirals upward, then another. At first they rise alone, delicate exhalations catching the light like distant jellyfish. But then the pattern emerges. Bubbles begin rising in a ring, a vertical curtain enclosing the krill from below. Each pulse comes from a carefully positioned whale, exhaling through its blowhole while spiraling upward. This is not chance. This is technique. The whales are working together, a rarity among baleen giants. Humpbacks are typically solitary feeders, but in polar regions during the feeding season, they break that rule. They become tactical hunters. A small group, usually 6 to 12 individuals, divides roles with near mechanical precision. One dives deep to drive prey upward with sound pulses. Others circle the perimeter, blowing rings of air that expand and close in like underwater fencing. The remaining whales wait below, silent and still, as the net tightens and the krill panic. From the krill's perspective, the trap is invisible. They respond not to sight, but to vibration and current, and the sudden appearance of rising walls, rising from all sides and herding them toward a tight center, triggers disorientation. They clump tighter, their schooling instinct working against them. In open water, it would mean protection. Here, it becomes their undoing. Then comes the strike. In one unified explosion, several humpbacks rocket upward from the darkness, jaws wide, throats ballooning like parachutes. Their pleated ventral grooves stretch like accordions, accommodating thousands of gallons of seawater and prey. It's not a gentle sweep. It's a violent burst of force that shatters the light with foam and muscle. Krill vanish by the hundreds of thousands, swept into cavernous mouths that close like elevators. The whales break the surface with a burst, water streaming from their faces, baleen rattling as it filters the catch from the flood. Above, seabirds dive opportunistically into the swirl of bubbles and displaced water, scooping what little escapes the whale's first charge. The sea, still moments before, is now white-capped and frothing, echoing with exhalations that sound like steam vents erupting from the deep. Then, almost as quickly as it began, the surface calms. The whales dive again, arching their backs in a fluid motion that belies their size. Their tails lift skyward, framed against the stark ice horizon, before slipping back below. The ballet resumes. What makes bubble net feeding remarkable is its learned nature. This is not instinct. Calves do not perform it. Juveniles do not stumble into it. It is taught, refined, and passed down. A hunting culture handed from experienced whales to younger members of the group. Some pods in the southern hemisphere do not use it at all, even where krill are abundant. Others show variations in technique, tighter rings, multiple spirals, different dive angles. The behavior is not just biological, it's social. Inside each whale's skull is a brain weighing nearly 6 kilograms, housing an advanced neocortex with regions dedicated to sound processing, emotion, and social memory. The coordination required for bubble net feeding, timing the exhalation, maintaining spatial awareness of the net, knowing when to surge, implies not just intelligence, but communication. Underwater microphones have recorded a range of sounds during hunts, grunts, pulses, and a signature call known as the feeding cry, thought to be a signal to initiate the upward lunge. It is teamwork guided by sound, but there's risk. The energy cost of bubble netting is immense. It takes dozens of dives, accurate placement, and cooperative timing to make it worthwhile. A failed net, one broken by a missed exhalation or a scattered shoal, means wasted calories. in the cold, these margins matter. Whales must gorge themselves in the few productive summer months, sometimes gaining up to 30,000 kilograms of fat before migrating to tropical waters to breed and fast. Each meal counts, and krill, despite their size, deliver. Rich in protein and omega-3 fatty acids, they offer high caloric return for baleen feeders. An adult humpback may consume 1.5 tons of krill per day during peak feeding, an amount made possible only by methods like the bubble net. As the whales rise and fall again in the pale afternoon light, their movements carry the rhythm of inevitability. The krill have no chance, only numbers, and even those dwindle day by day as the feeding pods pass through. The backdrop adds to the spectacle. The ice shelves, the calving glaciers, the mirrored sea, all seem tailored to frame this hunt as something mythic. Yet every motion is practical. Every turn, every blowhole burst, every lunge, honed for survival in a sea where abundance comes with urgency. As the last of the bubbles rise and collapse at the surface, a juvenile humpback breaks the pattern. It circles lazily, watching, not yet a participant, but clearly observing. One day, it will join the choreography. One day, it will exhale its own ring of silver air, and the sea will churn once more with the precision of giants. But for now, the blizzard settles and the ocean returns to calm. Below the ice, the hunters vanish, silent, full, and waiting for the next cast of shadows to rise. The world beneath the polar ice is not dead. It pulses with tension, coiled and quiet, like a wound spring waiting to snap. While the ice sheet above lies still and silent, concealing the harsh light of the sun, the waters below are anything but calm. Here, the margins of survival are measured not by brute force, but by acceleration. This is the domain of the cold water sprinters, predators designed not to endure, but to strike. Sunlight filters dimly through jagged columns of sea ice, casting pale shafts into the greenish depths. Where it reaches, tiny organisms flicker in motion, copepods and krill suspended like dust in a liquid sky. But beneath them, cruising the lower thermocline, torpedo-shaped shadows drift with lethal intention. Among them, the Antarctic toothfish reigns as one of the apex ambush predators of this cold, pressurized world. At nearly 2 meters in length and weighing over 100 kilograms, the toothfish resembles a cross between a cod and a submarine. All muscle, no waste. Its body is pale and camouflaged, laced with a specialized antifreeze protein that prevents its blood from freezing solid. In a world where temperatures hover just below zero, this adaptation is not just helpful, it's mandatory. But beyond its biochemistry, it's the fish's behavior that places it atop the icy food web. The toothfish doesn't chase for long. It doesn't have to. It lies in wait, blending with the seafloor or the shaded sides of ice crevasses, letting smaller fish pass overhead. When the moment is right, it launches upward with shocking speed, jaws gaping, pectoral fins flaring outward for stability. The strike takes less than a second. Its gill rakers and backward-facing teeth make escape almost impossible once contact is made. The victim, often a notothenioid or a juvenile cod, disappears in a whirl of bubbles and blood. Nearby, polar cod dart through the narrow corridors between ice ridges, their silvery sides catching occasional flashes of refracted light. They are smaller, quicker, and perhaps more nimble than their toothfish hunters, but they are also exposed. Unlike deep water dwellers, these fish must traverse the open space beneath the ice to find food, oxygen, and mates. That exposure turns their agility into their only defense. At rest, the polar cod seems unremarkable, slender, motionless, blending into the under-ice gloom. But when startled, it transforms. In an instant, its caudal fin snaps in a high-torque whip, sending its body into a blur of motion. Acceleration is the cod's currency, and it spends it with care. Unlike tropical species that dart through coral mazes, the polar cod must navigate open, icy voids, spaces where a single mistake means ending up in the jaws of a waiting predator. And the threats are not only large. The ice itself hides ambushes of another kind. Dragonfish, with their long, eel-like bodies and translucent jaws, hover almost imperceptibly in the shadows. These fish, equipped with bioluminescent organs, use brief pulses of red light, invisible to most of their prey, to illuminate their targets without giving themselves away. They strike from below or behind, jaws unhinging in grotesque expansion, swallowing whole anything smaller than themselves. Their bodies, soft and unarmored, are not built for defense, only for stealth and speed. Further up the column, away from the rocky floor and closer to the under-ice crust, lives a different sort of speed demon, the bald notothon. Small and hyperactive, it navigates the freezing currents with constant movement, burning energy as fast as it can gather it. These fish are twitchy, aggressive, and territorial, defending small pockets of oxygen-rich water with bursts of speed and precision strikes on any intruder. Their quickness is not just for feeding, but for surviving skirmishes against both predators and rivals. What all these species share is a physiological arsenal of cold-adapted tools. Their muscles are tuned for low-temperature performance, relying on high mitochondrial density and specialized enzymes that remain efficient in near-freezing water. Their nervous systems are calibrated to respond rapidly, even when external stimuli are muted by cold. And their swim patterns, while erratic at times, are governed by a kind of under-ice logic. Minimize exposure, maximize unpredictability, and never move in straight lines for too long. But the high-speed world of polar hunting doesn't stop with fish. Suddenly the water erupts in movement. A ribbon seal, torpedoing through the brine, spins on its axis in mid-motion and snatches a nototheniod from behind with a swift snap of its jaws. The entire strike lasts less than 3 seconds. Its body glides through the column with such ease that it barely displaces the surrounding water. The seal does not need stealth. It relies on raw speed and surprise, an underwater blitzkrieg honed through generations. And this game of speed, this dance of chaser and chased, doesn't pause. Every burst, every flick of the tail, every twitch of muscle is dictated by one rule: the faster wins. But speed is expensive. These animals live on an energy knife's edge, where each chase must be worth the calories spent. There is no room for error. For every successful strike, there are dozens of failed attempts, and each miss brings the hunter closer to exhaustion. From the outside, the polar seas may appear calm, a frozen wasteland of white. But beneath that icy surface, a war of velocity plays out every hour of the day. A landscape sculpted by stillness gives rise to some of the fastest creatures in the coldest places on Earth. And in this world of frozen fury, victory doesn't go to the biggest or the strongest or even the smartest. It goes to the swift. The ice does not melt evenly. Under the polar sun, low, unwavering, and relentless in the summer months, certain sections of sea ice begin to thin, softening at the edges and pooling into pockets of brackish water. These are melt ponds, deceptively shallow basins that gather on the surface of old ice. They gleam like mirrors under the sky, blue and silver and cracked around the edges, and to the untrained eye they seem harmless, no more than puddles atop a frozen plain. But beneath their calm veneer, a micro-ecosystem is taking shape, one that lures life with promise, then feeds on it with precision. Within these shallow melt zones, the first visitors are almost always the smallest. Algae, photosynthetic and opportunistic, bloom beneath the ice crust where sunlight now penetrates. Insects are absent here, but the plankton rise quickly. Copepods, larval fish, and shrimp-like amphipods drift upward into the pond, feeding on the algal blooms and seeking warmth in a world where even a few degrees above freezing makes a difference. The clarity of the water, the concentration of nutrients, and the brief, bright summer window create a temporary oasis in an otherwise hostile seascape. It doesn't take long for the next tier to arrive. Polar cod, alert to the scent and shimmer of zooplankton, begin to aggregate beneath the melt pools. They hang near the surface or glide gently along the underside of the thinning ice, their bodies silver blue and streamlined for shallow maneuvering. To them, the melt pond is a banquet, dense feeding without the need to dive or travel far. But what they gain in convenience, they lose in cover. The melt zone is a trap, wide open from above, exposed from below, and impossible to escape in a straight line once danger closes in. And it always does. From beneath the pond, a ringed seal breaches with minimal effort, its nose breaking the surface first, whiskers twitching, eyes scanning. These seals are the smallest and most widespread of the Arctic pinnipeds, but they are no less lethal. This individual has returned to the same pond it hunted the day before, drawn not by memory, but by probability. Melt pools are like vending machines of fish, restocked each day by the ocean's currents and the biological clockwork of light and growth. The seal slides forward beneath the ice, using its foreflippers for propulsion in the shallow layer of water that separates the pond from the ocean below. Then it strikes. A sudden pulse of speed, a narrow twist of the body, and the seal explodes upward through the ice's thinnest layer, jaws open, teeth bared. It doesn't grab a single fish. It drives directly into the school, disorienting the group and creating chaos. The second strike follows immediately. A grab, a turn, and a dive. Blood swirls through the water like ink. The rest of the cod scatter, but not far. The boundaries of the melt pond keep them close. The seal knows this. It circles again. But the danger does not only rise from below. Above the pond, a flurry of white feathers streaks downward. An Arctic tern, sharp-eyed and agile, plunges into the pool with needlepoint precision, emerging a moment later with a wriggling shrimp clutched in its bill. Its wings beat furiously as it lifts off again, already scanning for the next target. Not far behind, a skua makes its entrance, larger, bolder, and less refined. Skuas don't fish so much as steel, and it goes for the tern mid-air, snapping at wings and tail until the smaller bird drops its prize. The skua catches it in a brief freefall, then banks away with practiced ease. This aerial piracy is not rare here. The melt pools attract not just prey and hunters, but scavengers, thieves, and opportunists. Snowy owls have been seen perched at the pond's edge, motionless and silent, watching for any movement near the waterline. Even polar bears occasionally pause at melt zones, though not to fish. Instead, they watch the activity for signs of seals, knowing that where there are fish, there may soon be fur. The pond becomes a theater, concentric circles of predation, each layer exploiting the one beneath it, and the drama plays out fast. The lifespan of a productive melt pool is measured in weeks. As the ice continues to thin, the structure collapses. Some ponds break through, merging with the ocean below. Others freeze again when the sun dips toward the horizon. But while they last, they concentrate life in a way no open sea can. They compress it, expose it, weaponize it, and life in response adapts with urgency. Some cod learn to hug the deepest part of the melt layer, staying just beneath the pond's base to avoid attack from above. Seals compensate by widening their search arcs, striking at oblique angles to create panic rather than precision. Terns hunt in pairs, one diving while the other distracts nearby competitors. Even the plankton shift in behavior, migrating vertically in response to light and shadow, changing their position within the water column in a rhythm that echoes the sun. This dance of ice and biology is a uniquely polar phenomenon. It does not happen in coral reefs or deep pelagic zones. It cannot be replicated in aquariums. It is born from contradiction, a cold trap that becomes a feeding ground, a deadly place that also nurtures. And while it appears chaotic, it is governed by exquisite balance. Every predator that feeds here does so because another life form made the first move. A shrimp drawn to the algae, a fish drawn to the shrimp, a seal drawn to the fish, a bird drawn to the surface ripples. And around that cycle, the ice hardens and melts, cracks and shifts, erasing evidence with each tidal surge. What remains is not a structure, but a sequence, a pattern, a brief, radiant storm of life, drawn to the circle of ice, unaware that in chasing abundance, it may already be caught. Below the ice, beyond the photic layer where sunlight dies into darkness, lies a silent world so vast and cold it feels untouched by time. This is the polar twilight zone, a slow-moving abyss where pressure grows and light fades to nothing. It is neither fully dark nor fully lifeless. Instead, it is draped in a permanent dimness, pierced only by the glow of biology itself. Faint pulses of bioluminescence, like underwater stars flickering in reverse. Down here, speed is rare. Nothing darts, nothing chases. Life moves with the patience of stone, and predators rely not on pursuit, but on stillness, camouflage, and seduction. The rules of survival change entirely beneath the polar shelves. And in this stillness, giants wait. A jellyfish drifts upward in the gloom, its bell pulsing rhythmically, slow as a heartbeat in hibernation. It is a lion's mane jellyfish, one of the largest known species in the world. Its bell spans over a meter, but it's the tentacles that define it. Dozens, maybe hundreds, trailing beneath like unraveling silk. Some stretch nearly 30 meters, thinner than hair and nearly invisible in the water. They are armed with nematocysts, stinging cells capable of paralyzing small fish and crustaceans with even the slightest contact. The jellyfish does not hunt in the traditional sense. It does not need eyes or speed or intention. Its power lies in inevitability. Prey blunders into its tentacles unaware, lulled by the darkness, drawn by the faint glow of plankton, or mistaking the filaments for drifting algae. When contact is made, the effect is instantaneous. The cells fire, injecting venom, and the victim seizes, held aloft in a tangle of sticky threads. From above, the jellyfish looks like a drifting chandelier. From below, it is a web of living traps. Nearby, nestled against a vertical wall of ice and rock, a much stranger predator lurks, a colossal squid. Rarely seen, but always speculated about, these creatures haunt the minds of deep-sea biologists for good reason. Reaching lengths of over 10 meters, their eyes, the largest in the animal kingdom, are evolved specifically for detecting contrast in almost total darkness. They do not see in detail, but they can register shape, movement and shadow in conditions where even light struggles to exist. The squid holds position with minimal movement, its tentacles coiled inward, two longer feeding arms tucked tightly along its body. Its skin is covered in chromatophores, pigment-filled cells that allow it to shimmer or darken at will. In one moment, it resembles the icy wall behind it. In another, it vanishes entirely into the black. Like the jellyfish, the squid does not stalk.
It waits, extending one tendril, twitching it in mimicry of a swimming shrimp or drifting worm. This is its lure.
Subtle, barely noticeable, but in a place where any movement breaks the silence, it's enough. A lanternfish approaches, blinking with its own bioluminescent signals. It scans the area, unaware of the mimicry in motion. It inches closer, drawn by the false rhythm, and the trap springs. The squid lunges, not with a full body thrust, but with a precise extension of its feeding tentacles. The tips of those arms snap forward at ballistic speed, covered in swiveling hooks and suction cups lined with serrated edges. The fish is caught before it can even recognize the strike. Then, in one fluid pull, it vanishes into the beak, and the squid retreats again, silent as ever. This is not the only method. Some squid here rely on chemical deception, releasing faint trails of glowing ink to confuse predators or distract prey. Others pulse with brief flashes of light to stun small creatures long enough for a grab. These pulses are not just random, they are calculated, controlled. Predators here use light not as a beacon, but as a weapon. In the deeper reaches, near brine pools and thermal vents hidden beneath the continental shelf, other predators make their presence known, though rarely to the eye. Certain deep-sea polychaete worms, adapted to the crushing pressure and constant cold, build ambush dens in mudslopes and icy sediment. Only their jaws remain exposed, a ring of gleaming hooks that snaps upward at the slightest vibration. Amphipods, unlucky and unaware, are yanked into the tunnel and consumed within seconds. These predators are blind, relying on water pressure changes and chemical trails rather than vision. But they are effective and absolutely lethal in their territory. Not far away, a strange gelatinous form glides through the abyss. This is a comb jelly, or ctenophore, not a true jellyfish, but a translucent predator equipped with cilia that refract light into shimmering rainbows as it moves. Its beauty is misleading. As it drifts, it spreads adhesive tentilla lined with microscopic sticky cells that snare prey with a grip nearly impossible to escape. Small copepods and larval fish become ensnared, reeled inward by muscle contractions invisible to the naked eye. There is no violence in the capture, no thrashing or panic, only the slow, cold, mechanical pull of inevitability. The most unnerving thing about these deep predators is their patience. They do not strike until they are certain. They expend no more energy than necessary. Many of them can go days or even weeks between meals. Their metabolisms are slowed, honed for endurance rather than speed. They drift, observe, calculate, sometimes for hours, even days, before acting. It is not laziness, it is strategy. Because in this zone of extreme pressure and relentless cold, survival favors those who wait, not those who chase. And the longer you wait, the more likely something will come to you. From above, a dead fish begins to sink, perhaps dropped by a predator or lost from a dying school. It spirals slowly downward, past the jellyfish, past the comb jellies, toward the ocean floor. Several shapes stir in the distance. A group of giant isopods, armored and expressionless, lumbers across the seabed, drawn by scent alone. They are not fast, they are not elegant, but their role here is as old as the ocean itself, the cleaners, the final takers. When the living fail to kill, the patient ones still feed. And so, in this theater of the deep, every creature plays its part. Some dangle threads, some light false signals, others wait with jaws open, never moving until the time is right. It is not dramatic, it is not fast, but it is final. In the frozen blackness beneath the polar shelves, where light dies and sound is muffled by pressure and cold, the giants do not chase. They lie in wait. And eventually, everything comes to them. The Antarctic coastline is a jagged frontier, where floating icebergs grind against black volcanic rock and shelves of sea ice stretch like splintered armor over the Southern Ocean. In this liminal space, where ice meets open water, two masters of predation carve out their domains. One reigns in solitude, swift and savage beneath the floes. The other commands in coordinated groups dominating entire kilometers of sea. Leopard seal and orca, apex predators, evolved for the same arena, occasionally drawn into the same bloody spiral of territory, hunger, and instinct. The leopard seal patrols alone, as it always does. Long, lean, and reptilian in build, it slips under a flat sheet of ice, following the scent trail of a crab-eater pup. Its head breaks the surface briefly to breathe, then vanishes again without a ripple. Its body moves like a coil unwinding in water. Slow, deliberate strokes of the hind flippers, fore flippers tight along the sides. It is not searching blindly, it is tracking. It knows these routes, the labyrinth beneath the ice. It has hunted here year after year, memorizing breathing holes, melt gaps, and haul-out paths. Meanwhile, a pod of orcas cuts through the open channel not 2 kilometers away. They are silent for now, their black dorsal fins slicing above the waterline like dark sails. The largest, likely a matriarch, leads with a smooth, slow arc, surfacing with a quiet exhale that momentarily breaks the stillness. Behind her, 3 others follow, 1 calf and 2 subadults. The structure of a transient group accustomed to hunting mammals rather than fish. These orcas are not here by accident. They follow seasonal prey migrations, and recently, seals have been plentiful along this stretch of coast. At first, the leopard seal senses nothing. The orcas make no calls, no clicks, not yet. In ambush mode, orcas silence their echolocation, relying instead on vision and movement cues. The seal continues forward, near the edge of a flat berg drifting gently in a channel. It hauls out, rising awkwardly onto the ice, body slick and steaming under the weak sun. It doesn't bask long, just enough to rest, to scan the horizon, to sniff the air. Then it moves again, slipping into the water with practiced economy. That's when the tension shifts. The orca pod tightens formation, veering toward the edge of the channel where the leopard seal has just submerged. They know. Whether by scent, disturbance in the water, or a flash of movement caught in the periphery, something has signaled the presence of another hunter. Not prey, not yet, but certainly not welcome competition. For leopard seals, the presence of orcas alters everything. Though deadly in their own right, leopard seals are not built to confront orcas. They are solitary ambushers, optimized for stealth and bursts of violence, not sustained pursuit or open ocean evasion. Their best defense is the ice, the floes, the shelves, the hidden corridors beneath it. And now, this seal has left too much water between itself and cover. The first orca accelerates. Beneath the surface, the leopard seal senses the shift too late. It turns sharply, dorsal twisting, body snapping into a curved arc as it launches toward a nearby slab of ice. But the distance is wide, and the open water too exposed. From above, it looks like a torpedo zigzagging in panic. Behind it, the lead orca closes in, flanked by one of the younger males. They fan out in a classic pincer movement, one trailing behind, the other cutting off possible escape routes. The seal spins, dives deeper, and bolts beneath the orca at the last second. Its speed is astonishing. Sudden, desperate acceleration fueled by adrenaline and muscle memory. It slips under the belly of the orca, using the predator's own momentum to create a momentary opening. For a few seconds, the water churns violently, a spiraling chaos of bubbles, flashing white bellies, and disoriented fish scattering in all directions. But this is not a hunt, it is a warning. The matriarch orca halts the pursuit. The seal is not worth the full effort. Not now. Not with calves in tow. Not with the seal having already reached the ice shelf, dragging itself onto a ledge just as the younger orca lunges below. The attack was not failed exactly. It was measured, the message was sent, and the seal knows it. Bloodied along its flank, not from a bite, but from collision with an ice ridge, the leopard seal lifts its head, scanning the water for dorsal fins. It watches as the orcas circle once more before slipping away into deeper water. The pod resumes its patrol, and within minutes the wake smooths out again. The silence returns. These encounters are rare, but not unheard of. In recent years, researchers have recorded instances of orcas actively removing leopard seals from known haul-out zones, not for food, but seemingly to eliminate competition. Other times, orcas kill and discard seals entirely, consuming only parts of the body or ignoring them altogether. The behavior is still debated. Is it dominance? Is it risk aversion? A lesson passed from older pod members to the young. Whatever the answer, the effect is clear. Leopard seals avoid orcas. They change behavior. They adapt. And yet sometimes they retaliate. On rare occasions, a leopard seal will drag a seal pup from the edge of an ice floe moments before an orca pod arrives. A competitive snatch, not an escape. At other times they attack from beneath the same floe that an orca pod is stalking, striking the prey first. It is a deadly game of anticipation, where timing determines who feeds and who flees. In the Antarctic food web, apex status is not always absolute. It is dynamic, shifting with environment, numbers and conditions. Orcas dominate by power and coordination. Leopard seals rule through cunning and proximity to ice. Each has its strength, each has its limit. And when the two collide, it is not always clear who will claim the kill, only that both will remember the encounter long after the water settles. In the polar extremes, nothing stands still. The ice may appear unmoving, vast and inert, but it breathes with the tides, shifts with the wind, and fractures under its own weight. It is not merely landscape, it is architecture, battlefield, shelter, and snare. And in this frozen biome where temperatures stay well below zero, where food is scarce and danger constant, ice is not just a backdrop to survival. It is the defining element. For predator and prey alike, it is both weapon and refuge, the final variable in an arms race of evolution. A Weddell seal hauls itself onto a fragmented floe, the slab no longer than a pickup truck, its surface glossy and half-melted beneath the summer sun. It is not random in its choice. These smaller, thinner floes offer less stability, yes, but also more safety. They are difficult for larger predators like orcas to access. While orcas can use wave techniques to break seals from wide, flat icebergs, these smaller fragments shift too easily. They are unpredictable, almost slippery in their resistance to force. And for a resting seal, exhausted from diving, digestion, or birthing, that instability is life-saving. But the predator adapts too. Not far away, a pod of orcas circles the fringe of a melt channel. The matriarch slows, assessing the flows one by one. They are not launching waves yet. That technique has limits, especially on irregular flows. Instead, one juvenile breaks from the group and dives beneath a small slab. It doesn't attack. It nudges, repeatedly. The motion is subtle at first, barely enough to shift the ice, but then it escalates. With a few more powerful thrusts of its tail, the floe begins to rotate. Not crack, not collapse, but spin. The seal atop it feels the destabilization, begins to slide, scrambles to reposition. The orca's strategy is not brute force this time. It's manipulation. Instability as assault. Ice used not as cover, but as leverage. This push-pull, adaptation versus counter-adaptation, is constant. Emperor penguins, once regular victims along exposed ledges, now gather on thicker, denser ice packs far from open water. They dive in groups, enter and exit through narrow cracks, and avoid solitary ventures across flat surfaces. The colony becomes not just a breeding ground, but a fortress. Ice thickness becomes communal defense. Yet as penguins grow smarter, so do their hunters. Leopard seals no longer wait at obvious launch points. They patrol beneath wider shelves, learning new choke zones, where penguins must dive at sharper angles, slower to accelerate, easier to intercept. Above water, the dynamic changes further. Birds, like the South Polar skua, have learned that broken flows offer more opportunity than continuous ice sheets. Here, chicks are more exposed, scattered, and less defended. One skua scans from 30 meters above, tracking movement across a fragmented rookery. It picks a gap, then dives. In the narrow zone where flows meet, where a misstep means slipping into icy water, a chick falters. And that fraction of hesitation is all the predator needs. The kill is made not in mid-air, but in strategy, in reading the terrain and exploiting the edge. Even the ice itself becomes an active player. When winds shift or pressure ridges collapse, entire predator-prey dynamics reset. A floe that served as a sanctuary one day can split overnight, isolating animals from the group and pushing them into predator territory. Some seals die not from attack but from being cut off from breathing holes. Some predators lose the chase not because the prey escaped, but because the ice sheared into a new shape mid-pursuit. Still, not all ice is passive. Some animals use it with agency, turning it into trap and tactic. The Ross seal, seldom seen and poorly understood, has been observed navigating pressure cracks with eerie precision, using the chaotic shapes as blinds from which to lunge at unsuspecting fish. Arctic terns, featherlight and precise, land on tilted slabs to scout, using the high points for visibility and the dips as natural windbreaks. And then there is the matter of sound. Under the ice, acoustic warfare unfolds. The structure of ice channels sound in strange, elongated ways. A single seal movement can echo for meters, distorting position and speed. Orcas aware of this have been seen delaying attacks in certain areas, waiting for the ambient noise to mask their approach. Sound becomes another weapon, or another shield, depending on how well an animal can interpret the acoustics. This perpetual refinement of tactic and response forms a kind of arms race, not one waged with new technologies or greater strength, but with sharper instincts, tighter strategies, and behavioral intelligence. Predators never stop pushing. Prey never stops adapting. The ice is the arena, the tool, and the wild card all at once. It shifts the rules with every crack, every melt, every wind-stretched fracture. And when the ice is gone, when a floe collapses or a shelf carves into the sea, everything resets. Survival in the polar seas is not decided by the strongest, the fastest, or even the smartest alone. It is determined by those who read the ice best, those who understand its shifting language, those who can turn a brittle ledge into a fortress or a drifting slab into a stage for ambush. For in the frozen extremes, the game is never truly won. It is endured.